Hey guys, happy April Fool's Day. I can promise you all my analysis in here is going to be genuine and none of it is going to be a joke. So with that out of the side, let's get started. You can see we managed to close the month of March just green, I believe by what? 100 or 200 bucks, something like that. Um, Unfortunately, it's still a lower low on the monthly BX trender, and underneath the bull market 50% level. However, we are still holding that 33 fair value band on the underside, and only just you can see if we do manage to flush underneath it in either April or May, then any sort of capitulation low, like if we start to see some massive liquidation numbers or whatever, that would probably be very, very close to the actual price low for the cycle, even if it's not the time low. So if we get, a minus 20 or minus 30% weekly or monthly bar, I will absolutely be buying the dip. Coming down to the weekly time frame, you can see we haven't really seen much change. Obviously, the weekly swing was already down in the last video, and pretty much nothing has changed since I posted my last video because it's still the same weekly candle, and we've just been moving in the same price range. But on the daily time frame, however, there is quite a lot to talk about. Now, let me open up my stochastic RSI. You can see we are not actually forming a divergence because price has made a lower low, but the oscillators also made a lower low on both the stochastic RSI and the daily BX trender, which is basically a cross between a MACD and an RSI. Sorry, just had a little brain blank right there. But you can see on the volume, we are seeing lower buying volume than selling volume, even though it isn't a weekend session. Now, obviously, the 2 weekend days were very low volume, and that is why I believe this little flush out here on Sunday night US time was a bit of a fake out. Like, it was a low volume dump on the daily. Obviously, on the 15-minute chart, it looked like a massive capitulation, but obviously it's turned into a bit of a bear trap and we've rallied out of there. Now, one thing that I find very interesting about this rally is, number one, we've come up to this trend line again that was formed on the 17th of March and 25th of March tops, the 76K and 72K lower high. And we actually haven't quite come up to that trend line, but we have come up to just beneath it, which I believe lines up pretty well on the volume profile. If we have a look over here, yeah, we have that resistance cluster at about 68.9, and we've got the 50 TMA at 69K. So we've come up to around 68,650, and we have actually managed to print 2 days up on the Gann swing indicator, 2 green days with a higher close than open, even though that Monday candle wasn't particularly amazing, closing in the bottom half of the bar. But we managed to close yesterday above the 50% level, and it looks like today we're testing the 50% level from the underside. Looks like we've been bought back up, and if we can print 3 days up, where today is a green day that exceeds the high of the previous bar at 68,650 or so, without going below 65,900, and even better yet, if we can close on top of this trend line and the 50-day TMA, and potentially test or close above this 382 level, that would be an incredible sign of strength. Now, based on how much difference we've got between these tops here, we've got, about $1,000 between the Sunday and Monday bar, and we had about $400. So if we can push another 400 bucks, we might be able to close just above the trend line in the 50-day TMA. If we can push up 1,000 bucks, we should be able to test this 382 fib level. And if we get a higher low above the 50-day TMA, above these two trend lines, and better yet, above that 70k fib level and psychological level, then I really do think we could potentially be on track for some much higher prices, especially considering the weekly BX trender is green. Now, by much higher prices, I'm stalking an absolute top of about 85k. Realistically, I think we'd be lucky to get anywhere from 76.5 to 80k. I think that would be a potential max short zone, but I am obviously watching each and every single one of these intermediate levels, previous tops, fib levels, volume profiles, etc., as rejection zones. So for now, I'm still hedged, long and short, and as we climb higher, I add to my short and I slowly take profits from my long. On the 4-hour time frame, you can see I've got this exact same trend line as a daily time frame, and you can see we have made that double bottom-ish on the -1 standard deviation band. We've pumped up back to fair value, and it looks like we're consolidating above the fair value band, which is usually a great sign, as consolidation above the fair value band increases the chance that we'll test the +1 or even the +2 standard deviation band. You can see back here we broke above it, consolidated above it, never really closed underneath it, so we tested the +2 band. In this case, we had some nice consolidation, a few pushes to test the +1 band, and obviously you can see we've got the +1 band at 70k pretty much, and the +2 band at around 73k, which also lines up pretty well with some resistance zones on the daily volume profile. But obviously, until we break above this trend line, we do need to still respect it. Now, the BX trender, unfortunately, is showing some lower highs, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. However, the volume still looks healthy enough, and the stochastic RSI, you can see, is still forming some really nice bullish divergences. We don't have any confirmed tops in either the RSI or the BX trender. Like, we're not making, lower lows or anything like that. So for now, price action is still pretty healthy in my opinion. Not much to talk about on the 15-minute and 1-hour time frame. Now, one other thing is I am looking at the USDT dominance using the THT combined signal indicator, which is like the short-term system, as well as the THT long-term indicator. Now, the reason for this is, the THT system only trades when the monthly BX trender is green. Now, obviously, the monthly BX trender for Bitcoin has been red for quite a while. So the THT system was doing obviously amazing trades through this period here in 2024, 2025. But since pretty much October last year, it's just been, was it October? Yeah, October last year, it's pretty much just been sitting out of trades. Which, I mean, fair enough. If you've made, millions or tens of millions or life-changing money in the way up, just go take your holiday, or whatever. Just don't trade. But for the rest of us that haven't made our millions yet, I am going to be using the USDT dominance with the THT trading system to try and find areas where I can long USDT dominance or short Bitcoin and crypto. Now, I'm obviously not going to use this as an exact 1:1 entry-exit signal, but I will be instead going through altcoin charts and potentially looking for a weak altcoin to short when it looks like the USDT dominance is about to pop off to the upside. Now, obviously, I will short Bitcoin as well, but I'd be pretty concerned if Bitcoin saw like a -40% day or like a -90% week that some altcoins will happily do. Obviously not the large caps like DOT, ADA, CRO, but I have plenty of rubbish coins in my watch list that I do believe could easily provide some amazing short opportunities when the USDT dominance really starts to take off. Now, one thing to note is the USDT dominance on the THT combined signal indicator has it just gotten us to re-enter? Yes, so it has gotten us to re-enter pretty much right now, and as a result, I will be looking for altcoins to short, and I will be making a new video very soon, as well as talking about this system a bit more and how you can learn about it over on the THT website, as Peter has a bunch of free courses. Now, obviously, these two indicators, the combined signal and the long-term indicator, they are not free. You need to be a THT monthly or annual member. However, you can kind of run that system yourself with the fair value bands and the BX Trender, which are free. Obviously, I'll talk about that more in another video. But for now, just know that I am going to be stalking crypto shorts as we have re-entered long on USDT dominance. And I will also be looking for Bitcoin shorts if we end up confirming a daily lower high underneath the 50-day TMA, as that pretty much has almost always set us up for at least a double-digit move down. Even if it's not a full-on capitulation where Bitcoin drops, 20k or 30k or something like that, even in like mid-consolidation, when we've made that lower high underneath the 50 TMA, if you get in short on the daily swing reversal at 70,400, you can take profits down at 67, 66k. That's still a 5% profit to be made. Obviously on a 10x leverage, 50% profit. So if we do form a lower high, I will absolutely be shorting Bitcoin. I'll be aggressively closing out my long hedge, and I will be looking for really weak altcoins to short. And obviously, I will be making much more frequent videos, as I do believe a very, very major move is brewing. So I would not want to miss it myself or any of you guys to miss it. Now, I'm just going to come over and show you ChatGPT really quickly. I popped in a raw chart where it was literally just bars and volume, and I got ChatGPT to do a 8-hour Wyckoff for me, and obviously it is talking about redistribution. Now you can see we've got lower highs. So yep, pretty clear here. We're seeing lower highs, and where are we? Yeah, so we've been seeing weak rallies. You can see how every rally seems to be weaker than the previous one. So we're not seeing any overbalances in time or price. If you're a TIA member, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. If not, go watch some of Jason's YouTube videos. He sort of shows you how to do it, but like not as in detail as he and Michael do with the members. Now, the bearish trigger is a break below 65k, according to ChatGPT, and a break above 75k. In my opinion, a higher low above 72k on the daily time frame would probably confirm this as a accumulation schematic, in my opinion. And I would actually be looking for a daily lower high under 66k rather than just a break under 65k. But close enough. I'm just gonna shut up a little bit and just scroll through here, and you can pause the video and have a read if you want. Now, obviously, this is not financial advice, even though ChatGPT makes it look like it is, but this is one of the favorite things that I learned from TIA, thanks to Jason and Michael, is don't trade the middle zone. Like, I see it all the time where people try and get positioned in the middle of this chop and they just get chopped out. Like, they get their stops hit, or they get liquidated when you get like a massive flush bar or whatever, and they just bleed out heaps and heaps of money. When what you can literally do is you wait for your confirmation instead, where you're getting either a higher low on top of consolidation. I will probably have to scroll back quite a while to find this. But yeah, so something like this, where you get a close above consolidation, or you get higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and, you know, sure, you're not getting in at an absolute discount, but you're still taking, you know, if you can get in around here at 112k, you're still taking, you know, almost 10% out of the market in just a couple of days. And it's the same thing on this reverse side. This was a super clean down move. Like, you had your breakdown and your retest. On this retest, you've got perfect confirmation, or you can get in on this breakdown, you know, where we've closed underneath the trend line. And again, in just, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, you've made massive money to the short side. So everyone's, you know, me included, we're looking on the 4 hour, the 1 hour, the 15 minute. Now, obviously, I am trying to develop a really short-term strategy that uses maybe like the 1 hour or 15 minute time frame to scalp Bitcoin. So if you've got something like a MEXC zero fees derivatives trading account, you could make pretty solid money on even $300 or $400 moves, like 0.5%, 1/4%. But for everyone else with like a full-time job, or you're trading spot, or you're trading, you know, a broker exchange with a higher fee, you can literally just ignore that chop. And if we get this lower high underneath the TMA and both of these trend lines, then that's confirmation to go short and ride the potential, you know, 10k, 20k-ish move to the downside. Or if we start to see higher lows above 72k on the daily time frame, or better yet, a break and hold above 76k, you can still get, you know, a couple $1,000 move to 80k, 85k. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for now. We'll probably just take a very quick look at the market data. You can see in the last day, it looks like we've had quite a lot of longs come in, which is suspicious because we know that retail usually gets it wrong at the extremes. So the next move, if we're unable to hold above 68k, could potentially be to one of our downside max pain targets. I am still looking at this massive liquidation cluster on Hyperliquid around 71.4, as I think that lines up pretty well with the liquidation max pain on the 2-week time frame. If we fall just short of 72k and reverse, that could potentially mark a major top in the market. Now you can see here on the monthly time frame, this short max pain at 64.9 is obviously where it looks like everyone's got their stops or liquidation just below this swing low. So potentially we could see another leg downwards into this smart money zone and form a sort of triple bottom with these two lows. And then we get this 4th time diagonal breakout, where if I use my brush, where price might end up doing something. Oh no, I'm drawing in blue. You're not going to be able to see that because everything else on my chart is also blue. Actually, oh my god, I'm so bad with trading view. So we could get something that looks like that. So if I obviously switch that to, let's go yellow, where we get the breakdown, flushes through maximum pain, absolutely wrecks all the late longs. We bounce off the smart money zone. We break out of this trend line as a 4th time diagonal breakout. We make a higher low, and then we either continue chopping, or we come up to this 80 or 85k level. That's just another one of my theories. Now, I'll probably have to make a separate stock market video. I was like, we'll take a look at this S&P 500, but I'm like, this video is probably long enough. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and good luck.